I am the one who knocks.
When isolated, the stories of Light Yagami and Walter White are incredibly different. The entire premise of Breaking Bad and Death Note center around different things, and these stories take place in different parts of the world, one being in suburban America and the other in Japan. But notice I said when isolated, these stories are different. But when put under a lens, a different argument could be made, and today I'm going to make that argument. Death Note and Breaking Bad both share the same skeleton, the same design DNA, if you will. I firmly believe Death Note and Breaking Bad tell the same core story, just in different ways, and this realization didn't hit me until I finally sat down and finished Breaking Bad 2 years ago. It took me 5 seasons, 61.3 hours to come to this realization, so let's break it down. First things first, let's get the obvious out of the way. At its core, both series are crime dramas that focus on the main character, who is a criminal, a supporting cast that is mainly ignorant to their misdeeds, and some sort of obstacle that would hamper their main objective. Both men must navigate a perilous landscape while keeping their secrets hidden from their friends and family, and both series contain at least one family member in law enforcement, with Light Yagami's father, Soichiro Yagami, and Walter White's brother-in-law, Hank Schroeder. That is the most bare-bones comparison possible. With that out of the way, let's get into the meat of this video. Light and Walter start the series as average run-of-the-mill people. Walter is a science teacher, Light is a student, but life suddenly changes. While Light discovers his life-altering events within the first few minutes, Breaking Bad takes a slightly different approach. It starts at the end as we work our way back up to that point. Light uses the Death Note out of morbid curiosity, and what I love is that at first we see Light's mind slowly warp after coming to the realization of killing people. He goes back and forth trying to convince himself that the things he was doing was right. He's very conflicted, and the subtle facial nuances complemented by the dialogue that makes this first chapter so strong. It's a little frightening how bright-eyed he's gotten, and arrogant, yet naive. And while his goal is noble, he's already going about it the wrong way, which could be foreshadowing for his slow but steadily decline. Ryuk even mentions it. Light simply says it can't happen because he's a model student, a decent teenager, and a soon-to-be god of this new world he's about to create. Walter, on the other hand, is more passive than Light. Chalk this up to him being in his 50s as a family man who stayed away from conflict for a majority of his life. Suffice to say, all that comes crashing down once Walt is diagnosed with cancer. Lucky or unlucky, depending on how you see it, by some miracle he runs into an old student of his who's in the crystal business. You'll be damned if I say the word, you know the one. I'm not trying to get demonetized. Walter, being a chemist, uses this opportunity to raise money for his family's future in wake of his eventual death. But like most things in life, it isn't that easy. These facts may seem insignificant, but we need to understand these two people, their principles and their core values, so that later we can deconstruct how their actions affect them over the course of their respective series. With that brief synopsis of both characters out of the way, let's continue. Light and Walt go through a very similar metamorphosis. It's a case study of what ego, pride, greed, and power can do to a man. Walter's decline is a slow burn. Light happens relatively quickly, but that's simply due to the length of both shows. Death Note is significantly shorter in episode length and episode runtime. The obvious big difference besides the characters' ages is that the story takes a different approach to tell its overarching narrative. Both focal points focus on something morally wrong, like selling illegal substances and killing people. But the way these concepts are framed makes it at least understandable. For Walt, he wants, before he dies, was to give his family a better life. And Light wants to rid the world of evil in a pseudo-vigilante type role akin to Batman. Except
Batman does not kill.
Early on, Light's moral compass isn't as black and white as we'd hoped. He's a bit gray, as he deems anyone standing in his way as evil. I'm gonna chuck it up to his teenage mind, but he also does something incredibly stupid. He kills Lynn L. Taylor, juxtaposed this to Walter killing Crazy 8, which was out of self-defense. But this is just early on in the stories proper. Walt later down the line crosses the same moral boundaries that Light did by poisoning a child and doing things that would jeopardize the lives of innocent people. Both Light and Walter continue to push the envelope. Walt keeps going, even though there's been so many times where he could stop, touting one more big score every time, while Light kept getting more and more careless, involving more people into his scheme, and this is sadly what ultimately led to his demise. Teru Mikami. Both characters value family above all else, at least at the start of their journey. We already know how Walt feels, so let's take a look at Light. While the series itself doesn't go into much detail about Light's view on his family, if we look at an interview with Oba, we get a clear sign of things. When asked why he didn't have Mello kidnap Misa instead of Sayu, Oba responded, "If it was Misa, Light would not be bothered over whether she lives or dies." He laughs. Since the beginning, Light had always loved his family. He believed that they were good and righteous and perfect citizens for his new world. Despite his utopian aim of wanting to become the god of justice, he cared about the welfare of good people like Soichiro and Sayu. On the other hand, Misa had killed before, and because of that, Light saw her as a bad person and would have left her for dead. Hence, the person who was to be kidnapped by Mello could not be Misa. That being said, something changed. Lord Acton once said, "Absolute power corrupts absolutely." This is the overall subject of these two series. Both Light and Walt had lost sight of their original intentions, their values, and somewhere along the line, the alter egos of Kira and Heisenberg became more than just that. They swallowed both men and the positions were reversed. Light Yagami and Walter White took the roles of alter ego in their stead. Light Yagami had strayed away from his path once his father died. His family became a shell of its former self. This pristine, ideal family that would be the forefront of the new world was no longer. Light could have averted this so early on if he had merely committed to eliminating criminals and disregarded the FBI and the investigation team altogether. However, just like Walter, his ego wouldn't allow him. Walter ruined his family. He made his wife feel like a prisoner trapped in his twisted game until he lost it all. It no longer became about his family and what was best for them. As he admitted, did it all for himself, for his ego. He was gaining back control of his life, of the life that he lost, or so he says. These two shows, in my opinion, are first and foremost character studies. I believe the main plot, while superb in both, takes a backseat to this concept. We watch a steady deterioration of two men due to their hubris. Take the story of Icarus, for example. If you're not familiar, let's recap. Icarus is a Greek tale about a youngster given prosthetic wings by his father so that both of them could escape his misfortune. His father warned not to get too close to the sea, nor too close to the sun. Icarus disregarded this warning, proceeding to soar closer and closer to the sun, melting his wings as he plunged to his death. This could be interpreted as letting his pride get the better of him, something both Walt and Light fell victim to, leading to their eventual demise. While Light Yagami was unable to accomplish his goals, Walter's story takes a slightly different turn. He, like Light, does die at the end of the story. That constant is the same. However, unlike Light, while he isn't able to rewrite his wrongs, he does find a way to get his family the money that they need, and he does save Jesse. He died at peace, but Light died like a dog, running away from his failures as his life flashes before his eyes. Breaking Bad and Death Note follow the same blueprint that explores the same concepts and ideas in slightly different yet compelling ways. With a strong cast of side characters and antagonists, it shows how power can corrupt good people. It only takes one thing to alter a person's entire life. To quote the Joker in The Killing Joke, it only takes one bad day.
No! I tried to save him!
With your last bit of strength, you
Guy
wanna
opens his
die
door and gets shot.
Useless fools, as if they could ever
I
understand.
am you Knox!
Who's talking?
Leave me alone! Nobody
This is Rimtoki, This has been Beyond Animation. If you like these types of videos and like anything I had to say, please like this video. Subscribe to the channel. I'd really like to get to 5,000 by the end of the year, and give me a follow on Twitter if you so please. Was I right? Was I wrong? Were there other similarities that I left out? I'd like to hear your thoughts. Did you enjoy Death Note? Did you enjoy Breaking Bad? And how do you feel about Light Yagami and Walter White? And with that being said, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.